Hi, everybody. Welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra. Today, another discussion of a design feature issue. I want to talk to you today. We had two badge cams on the big channel where the button magazine release on a standard issue police pistol, a Glock pistol in this case, but any button will do this, all right? Any button will do this. So it's not a thing with Glock here, though I happen to have a Glock 17 in hand from last week's video. And I want to show you one of the reasons I freaking love HKs on the VP9 and the P30, their paddle magazine release.
Palm pepper spray is next generation OC spray. It's hot at 1.4% major capsaicinoids, and its modular design means you can customize it exactly to you. 3 different setups, lots of different color combinations. You can make it exactly as you like. And the flip top safety prevents accidental discharges. It's 10 to 12 foot range and 25 half-second blasts. Make sure that you can keep that long range eye poke at long range. I trust Palm OC and I recommend it for everyone for self-defense.
Now, this is not hypothetical stuff. I am talking about real life badge cams that happen. So I am going to splice in here a couple of, just a few seconds to show you twice recently that we have had a magazine drop out of a firearm in real gunfights that is really problematic. Watch what happens right there. Did you notice there? Look at our officer's posture. His right elbow is down. He's lowered his right elbow. He's protecting his gun there. And in the news reports and in the release from Phoenix PD, this guy made a grab for the officer's gun and ejected the magazine out of the officer's gun. In both of those cases, those officers were carrying Glock pistols. This is not an anti-Glock screed. This is not endemic or constrained only to Glocks, right? But in particular, there's a button magazine release, right? And this particular button is very typical. Now, me as a lefty, it's a little bit different, but you weirdo righties, what you see people using all the time is they've got this magazine release here, and when it comes time to reload the pistol, they will actuate that with their thumb, drop the magazine out, go get a new one, reload it, rock and roll. No problem. But what we saw there is in the Phoenix incident, you saw the gun grab, the bad guy grabbed for the officer's gun, bumped that in the holster. Now, mind you, this was in a Safariland ALS retention holster, but that magazine release, though it was on his body, and that was kind of the part close to his body, but of course it's a duty holster, right? So it's a little bit offset from it because you got the belt and then the holster itself, and it's got a lot of bulk. So the bad guy was able, just by jerking around with it and trying to get it off of his waist, to actuate that magazine release and eject the magazine out of the gun. So that when the officer finally was able to pull the gun, the magazine dropped out. He had what Pat Rogers, may God rest his soul, call a moose cock, that he had the magazine drop. It kind of looked to me on the camera like it actually ejected out of the gun and yeeted out of the gun when it happened. Officer didn't see it. So then when he drew the gun and went bang, he got one shot on the guy. Thankfully, that one shot put him down, because it hit him in the leg, and then, oh no, click, oh no, what am I gonna do? Thank God that one shot was enough. In the second one, what happened is that the officer, you saw him, right? So he gets in a gunfight. Oh no, this guy's drawing a gun on me, bang, 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 bang. And then as he hit to cover, he used a proactive reload, so he drops the magazine out of the gun, inserts the new one in the gun. The guy's already coming back out the door, worst possible bad guy, right? A hunter here, not a runner, a hunter. Officer goes, oh no, gets back on the gun, bang, 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 third round. So that one wasn't a moose cock. It wasn't not locked in the gun, but his grip, the way that he gripped the gun with his support hand on the gun, I don't know if that, in that case, it was an extended magazine release, that he hit this magazine release with his hand somehow, how he was gripping it, and that dropped the magazine on the third round. So then he is standing there, or sitting there really, already shot in the leg with a gun without a magazine. Thankfully, he had another one on him, was able to get it back in the fight and win that fight. And we've had one on the channel out of Houston where another guy, now he was running a competition style extended magazine release, and he hit that sucker 3 times in a real gunfight. So he dropped a magazine on the deck, reloaded it, bang, 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 hit it again with his grip, third one, bang, 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 and it hit the deck again, and he had to go pick that one up off the ground. Oof, right? I don't like that. Now, let's talk about why I do like the paddle magazine release, right? So the HK paddle, and they do make the VP9, the original VP9, they make a button version for, and some people are like, are you gonna make a button version for the A1? I'm sure they will eventually, but this is much better. I like the paddle. Wait, phrasing, what? Oh, okay, anyway. Now, a couple things. I know for a fact that guys in competition don't love the paddle magazine release because they feel like it slows them down. That in a competition style environment, they're so trained to the button that they can do these sub-second reloads with the button. And in a competition environment, that sub-second reload is really, really important, right? What we tend to see in real life, we've had many cops have reloads, okay, on the channel. I've only ever seen 2 times where a private citizen has done a reload and used rounds out of that reload in a private citizen outside of the home gunfight. Only 2 times I've ever seen that. Neither of those times were those rounds really needed, quite frankly. So we're like over 50,000 in needing and having and using. We've probably seen 8 or 10 more where it might have been useful. But in cop gunfights, we see reloads fairly regularly because they go after people, right? Because they chase threats. Private citizens run away from threats, they chase threats. And you know, in real life, it's a 2.5 to 4 second reload is not bad on the street in real dynamic environments when things actually are going down. And so that little bit of time on the paddle magazine release, you just got to relearn that, and it doesn't take long. I'll tell you how I do it. Is I actually use my trigger finger. So I come back here and press with the trigger finger. Oh, there it is, bang, there's the new one. And I do that as a lefty because that's how I had to do a button when I was running a Glock 19. Had to learn how to use a button that way. And so I just transitioned that to a paddle on the HK. But here's the other thing. I'm gonna show you this, and we're going to put that guy away in a holster, right? So this is my concealed carry holster. This is a Dark Star Gear Orion that's built for a P30, but as you can see, works for a VP9 as well, including the VP9A1 in this particular iteration, VP9A1K. Now, if this was a button, one of the things that you'd see is that button is going to be sticking out here. And there are holsters that come out far enough to cover that button. And I actually think that's a great idea. Now, of course, if you're right-handed, this is a left-handed holster because I'm correct-handed, but if I was right-handed, then that button on the left side of the gun would be closest to my body. So on the one hand, shouldn't be a problem something else bumping it, but on the other hand, it's close to my body, so it's probably going to bother me, or it is itself going to bump me and get bumped out that way. Whereas with the paddle, look at what you see here, right? So let's see if I can show it to you well, is that it's all covered here, right? Is that in order to change it, I can, if I really work hard, I can work in here, but it's not pushing in on it like some external pressure would. You have to press it down towards the bottom of the grip. And so it's darn near impossible administratively while this sucker is in the holster in order to release a magazine, which for a private citizen, super good. It just removes that as a problem. As a law enforcement officer as well, it is much more difficult to release a magazine in the holster in this style of magazine release. Then also when I have the gun in hand, when I am shooting the gun, you know, again, with this support hand, when I get 2 hands on the gun, I am putting pressure here on this side. I'm doing it with my left hand because I'm left-handed, but you get my point, right? If I'm right-handed, this other way. And as a lefty, I can cover that as well. And I might grip this and pull my hand into that button release. I find especially extended buttons as a lefty, they dig into my shooting hand and they suck. But I'm actually going against and doing the opposite because my middle finger here is pressing up against the trigger guard, right? Of the bottom of the trigger guard. So because of that, I'm holding the magazine release in place. So I'm doing the opposite of what would release the magazine in that kind of a scenario. So then when I need to reload the gun, if I'm a cop and I go, oh no, I gotta get to work here, bang, 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 bang. Oh, click, cool. Now I gotta go get a magazine and go to work. So I do this thing, or I pull this way. My thumbs aren't quite long enough to do that with a full firing grip. I have to break my grip just a little bit to use my thumb, which is why I don't like to do that. but it's a superior system to that. So whether I was a cop or a private citizen, especially for private citizens where we just don't see reloads come into play, go watch my video on reloads. I'm not telling you not to carry a reload. If you want to carry 5 of them, I don't care. Just make sure you got all your other stuff with you. But in terms of the security of the magazine in the gun, that is the most important thing. That magazine in the gun, staying in the gun, because if I have, in a real world scenario, 2.5-second reload, which for most people, quite frankly, is very fast from concealment, you know, your magazine that's buried in your pocket or in a Neo Mag or some trash like that, or even if it's in a sidecar on your appendix holster, to get there and be like, oh man, I could do it in 1.7. When you're standing on the range and you're really focused and you know it's coming, you might be able to do it in 1.7. Man, in a real world environment where you're trying to figure out what the heck is happening, they take a lot longer than that. And so 2.5, 3 seconds is not a bad reload at all from concealment. And especially, you know, when we see that in force on force, that's what we see. That's how long it takes. And you know how long 3 seconds is in a real gunfight? It's like a whole gunfight worth of time. When this gun runs empty, your fight is over pretty much. So I really want security on that first magazine. I want that first magazine to be vetted. I want it to be absolutely reliable. I want to know that it works. I don't want it to be aftermarket. I want it to be awesome, but I want it in the gun. Anyways, this video is not about that. This video is about paddle versus button. Now, of course, there are a couple, there's the Walther PPQ has a paddle magazine as well. I don't think they're making the PPQ anymore. And that was a really good gun. And I really like that. The paddle's a little narrower on that one. I really like the VP9 and P30 paddle. The way that the P30 and VP9 paddle works is, I think, really, really awesome. And USP as well. So it's one of the reasons that I went. It's actually one of the reasons I went to a VP9 is because as a lefty, it's got full ambidexterity, including the paddle magazine release. I think it's a superior function. I think that it works better. And because of mission differences between a private citizen and a police officer, I'm a private citizen, so I don't care about reloads in the middle of gunfights because they just don't happen. I have 17 in mine. I'm carrying a full-size P30. And, 17 plus 1 in the gun is, I feel very comfortable with that kind of capacity and with that kind of capability in my gun. If I was carrying 10, again, I just don't see reloads happening in the fight. So I really want that magazine to stay secure. I think the paddle is a superior system to that than a button is. And therefore, since this is an administrative decision, it's one of the reasons that led me to a VP9. If that helps you, it helps you. Hey, if you're already in on your system and you're in on your gun, and you're like, I'm not looking to buy another gun, I'm not interested in buying another gun, cool, man. Carry whatever you like. I'm not gonna be at your gunfight. And if you show up to an active self-protection class, we're gonna train you with whatever you brought. We're not gonna give you shame about that. But now when we're thinking about purchases, or maybe if you're thinking about buying a new handgun for concealed carry, or as a police officer thinking about duty, your department lets you purchase your own gun and carry what you'd like, I think the VP9 is a heck of a choice. And the paddle magazine release is one of the reasons why.